Hey there from Radically Rational and radicallyrational.com. Okay, just 2 days ago we experienced Ash Wednesday, and now 48 hours later we have a different kind of Good Friday, a very good Friday. And the reason is because the state of New York just got $355 million deep in that orange orangutan's pocket, and he had it coming. Business fraud. Understand, his liability had already been established. We were just talking price today. It's like that old joke. We've already established you a hoe. Now we're just haggling over price. $355 million. And let me cut you off, MAGA idiots, because I'm sure you've already distributed the talking points. Don't give me this bullshit about victimless crime. If you really feel that way, then you understand business even less than he does. And of course, you elected him president because he's such a brilliant businessman. He loses money on every single thing he does, but he makes it up on volume. Okay, so here's why it's not victimless. By inflating his assets and overvaluing those, he was able to get big loans at a lower interest rate, which gave him a competitive advantage over other companies. Don't tell me this was victimless. And the state of New York has said, you ain't doing anything around here for 3 years. Of course, it really may not matter since his ass is going to be cooling in prison anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and all that impeachment inquiry thing in the House, you can get out of here with that too. Turns out the whole thing was based on testimony, uncorroborated testimony, from a former FBI agent who turns out to be a lying son of a bitch. Now, Fonnie Willis screwed up. Period. Ain't excusing it. What in the world were you thinking? Poor judgment for sure. But understand this, this doesn't change anything with Trump. It doesn't change that case at all. It doesn't change the facts at all. And here's the thing. She should only be disqualified if she had done something to harm Trump's case or that of the other 14 defendants. She hadn't. Okay? You can't tell me that their cases are prejudiced. They're not. This has nothing to do with the larger issue of trying to steal a presidential election. So, Fonnie, don't be doing stuff like that. But it was really funny yesterday to see her just line up attorneys and mow them down. So effective, she didn't even have to do it again today. If you're not mourning Alexei Navalny, then you don't understand. A hero, a great man, a historically great man who ultimately gave his life. And yeah, he was a proud Russian, but he also was a lover of global freedom. And we as Americans owe him a big debt of gratitude. And the biggest way we can start to pay that debt is make sure that we continue to support Ukraine from being overrun by Putin and his goons. Yeah, I'm going to do a little sports. Feel like it, all right? Everybody makes mistakes. All I ever ask is that people own them, correct them, apologize, and largely we move on. Looks to me like Travis Kelce has checked all the boxes, so that wraps it up. We do move on. All right, so the Chiefs, they said they're going to three-peat. Nobody's ever done that before in the Super Bowl era, but they took the biggest step they could have taken yesterday when they signed their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, to an extension, because he may be their most valuable coach at this point, and I love Andy. But that gives them a leg up, and they may be equipped to pull it off. The three-peat, the turkey, as we would say in bowling. Mike Zimmer is going to do well with the Cowboys. That's a tough guy. That's a no-nonsense guy. And if nothing else, he's going to get their run defense shorn up, and that was their most vulnerable Achilles heel in what turned out to be a very disappointing 2023 season. I don't know what to make of Shanahan firing his defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, right after the Super Bowl. It was evident all year that they weren't really on the same page, and it is Shanahan's team, so he had the right to do that, but in some quarters, that kind of had a bad look. All right, it's evident to me now the Bears are going to move on from Justin Fields. Big difference of opinion here. This is just one man's view. Justin Fields is this close to being an upper tier NFL quarterback. He really is. And if you take that overall first draft choice and give him a weapon, like say Marvin Harrison Jr., you could get pretty good pretty quick in what is going to be a very competitive NFC North, but apparently they're not going to do that. So I think they're giving up on Fields way too soon. He's going to get traded probably to the Steelers. More on that later. But then they're going to draft, apparently, Caleb Williams, and I got a big problem with that. I have seen his physical talent. I also know that he is an immature, whiny little squirrel. I'm not throwing the keys to my franchise to that guy at all. Geno Smith, for the moment, still with the Seahawks. He was on the roster today. That means he's guaranteed $22.5 million next year between salary and bonus, but he may not be in Seattle. But think about this. $22.5 million is some big bread, but look at the inflation in quarterback salaries. That could be a bargain, whether the Seahawks keep him or trade him to somebody else. And of course, Pete Carroll's not there anymore in Seattle, so that could change things. Jimmy G, what's the matter with you? 2-game suspension to open next year for taking prescription medication that had, quote, no therapeutic value. Well, you ain't got no value to the Raiders anymore, for sure, and they're going to deal him. So Jimmy G will be looking for his third team in the last 3 years, and he won't be the starter because he won't be there for the first 2 weeks. But you know what, MAGA? I'll not only be here next year for the first 2 weeks and thereafter, I'm going to be right back in your ass tomorrow. Have a good weekend. We are radically rational.